Hello. This last lesson we did Deuteronomy, about Joshua. Deuteronomy chapter 31. Joshua is getting ready to take up leadership. Moses is getting ready to die. He's 120 years old. He knows he's not crossing the Jordan. God has told that to them, and he reiterates it in this passage. But he also says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified. The Lord your God goes with you." Then Moses summons Joshua and says to him, in the presence of all of Israel, "Be strong and courageous, for you must go with this people. The Lord himself will be before you." They read the law. Moses writes it down again, tells them at the end of every 7 years for the canceling of debts, they are to reread the scriptures at the Feast of Tabernacles. Tabernacle is a fancy word for tent. And in the next few verses, Moses and Joshua go to the tent of meeting, also called the tabernacle. And that is where Joshua gets commissioned. So we are going to be making a very simple impression of the tabernacle with some washi tape. And I am going to redo that on this page because the Israelites are still in the desert east of the Jordan River. This has been one long day of sermons and lessons and readings for them. Before we get to the tabernacle, this is a pretty thick piece of paper, watercolor paper. We are going to draw the presence of God. It says he was in front of the tabernacle and a pillar of cloud. Cloud pillars are really a lot of fun and easy to draw. I'm using Inktense pencils here. Any watercolor pencil will work. This is a brand I have for the kids. These are fun. Find a yellow, orangey one because they have 2 colors on it. Because this cloud pillar is also the pillar of fire by night. Once you have the shape that you like for your cloud, some water. I use my finger for this one. Kind of a reminiscence of the laying on of hands for Joshua when he is commissioned. Use a paintbrush if you don't like getting messy. Okay, just billow it out. Okay, I like how some of the yellow is shining through, but I want a little bit more. So I'm gonna just do some orange little bits in here. Where there is smoke, there is fire, as the old adage says. Little bits of yellow. Watercolor pencils, Inktense pencils work really well dry or wet. It can be a fun medium to play with. And we're just gonna blend it right back in. There we go. What I'm also going to do, because this right now is a rather flat to me, I have these glue sticks that have glitter in them. I like to think that the glory of God sparkles a little bit. It's bright and radiant, so I'm putting some glitter in there. If you want to add definitions with another marker or just, you can, it's your cloud, your pillar. Design it how you want, but after it's done, we're going to set it aside to dry. Now, the tabernacle. When Solomon builds the temple, he follows very much the plan of the tabernacle. God gave this plan to Moses when he was up on the mountain, and each piece of it it's all very, very symbolic. It has 3 types of metals: gold, silver, and bronze. I'm going to use some of those. And it had 3 main fabric colors: red or scarlet, blue, and purple. I like that purple one. A lot. These were embroidered in and out. They had patterns woven into them. I'm not going to get that detailed for this rendition. So we're going to start with the most precious, the most holy, the Holy of Holies, kind of at the top of my page. The Holy of Holies was separated by a 4-inch thick piece of fabric. I'm doing purple here. Purple represents the royal priesthood, the king of kings. Purple is a royal color. It was incredibly difficult to get in. Throughout history, it was incredibly difficult. And then you have the holy place in the very next room. And that had the golden lampstand, the bread, the table for bread, the shofar, and, the incense holder. Now, all around this was this is a tent. It was made to be taken down and moved. I'm going to do blue. I did some research through Leviticus and Exodus, so some of this might not be accurate. The blue was supposed to symbolize heaven. We have God alone as king. His presence would dwell in the Holy of Holies. The high priest was only allowed to go in here once a year, and only the high priest. The other priests were allowed in the holy place, the first part of this chamber. Outside, holding up this curtain, the base of the wood for that was done in silver. Up there it is. I'm going to picture a skinny one because it's just the base of the wood, I believe. Silver, less precious than gold, but still very precious. And that is going to outline. This doesn't rip very well. This is more plasticky than actually a washi tape. If you don't have access to washi tape in all or any of these colors, go ahead and use what you have. Do you have ribbon? Wrapping paper ribbon, curling ribbon, any of that would make a great tabernacle. Okay. Oh, the last top part. Okay, you have the base of the wood in silver, holding up the curtain. Next, we have the outer court, or the court. And in this court was the bronze altar and the bronze laver, I guess. There we go. Sacrificing animals was a messy business. Very messy. The altar and the laver, the basin, was made out of bronze or covered in bronze. I am looking for a we'll use this one, thin piece of red. Red is represented as sacrifice. There was a lot of that going on. Maybe I won't use this red. A lot of that going on in the court. The priests would also take the blood that was sacrificed and sprinkle it on the inside to purify things. This small red one I'm just putting here to represent the blood of the animals. I'm going to do another bronze one here for the altar. Okay, and then we have the perimeter. The perimeter was done in, well, I don't know what color it was done in. It was a combination of all of the colors in some pattern. And so I have this marbled purple and blue tape. I'm going to use that for maybe the very edge of it. They knew from a distance coming into the tabernacle, this tent of meeting, that this was a holy place. The King of Kings, their God, was here. He was worshiped here. When he had a message for Moses, that message was given to him at the tent. And so it becomes a very significant part of their history. Again, the stakes, the wood poles that held up this outer curtain, the base of those was bronze. And so now I'm going to use my skinny bronze to represent the base of the wood poles in the tabernacle. Another easy form of metallics, if you don't have these markers, often come in metallics. That might be a better option. Gold leaf, we used that earlier in a lesson if you have access to that. All of these are great substitutes for what I am using. Use what you have. That's part of the joy of art journaling, Bible journaling. Use what you have. I love hoarding supplies. I love collecting supplies. But honestly, use what you have. If you take your time on this might be kind of dry by now. We're going to cut out your pillar of cloud. And you're going to want to make sure that you leave the top part of it pretty flat because we're going to tape it into our journal. Okay. If I knew how to speed parts of this up without doing too many tapes, I would, but it doesn't take too long to cut it out. On the back of your pillar is where I'm going to encourage you to do your journaling for this lesson. On reading chapter 31, how do you feel as a leader? How do you feel with the prediction that Israel was going to fail, that the future generations would forget their covenant? Write a prayer out to that. I'm writing messy. I know what I'm saying. God knows what I'm saying. And that's all it really needs to be. Oh, it wasn't exactly dry. Some of the glitter stayed behind. That's okay. On the front, I am going to write, not with a skinny marker. Maybe I'll do it with gold. Be strong, and I'm gonna have to write courageous small. Be strong and courageous, and that comes from Deuteronomy 31:6. Note to self, if you're going to write on it, do make sure it's dry. My marker did not like going through the wet glue on there. That's okay. All right. What we're gonna do now is tape with my gold. Tape the cloud down to your page. And I'm gonna tape it over the flap. So part of that's gonna go on the very next page, and I'm okay with that. Okay, be strong and courageous. I don't know what God is calling you to do. Being a children's minister, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid because of them. As much as I love children, they can be a little scary sometimes. They have a lot of energy. But know that God's presence is with us. He doesn't show up in the pillar of fire and cloud anymore. He doesn't situate himself only in the Holy of Holies anymore. When Jesus was crucified, this curtain separating the holy place from the Holy of Holies was torn down the middle. Not from top to bottom, as someone would try to tear something, because this was very high up and it was very thick. Josephus wrote that it was 4 inches thick. I can't imagine a piece of fabric that thick. It was torn. There's no longer a barrier between us in our sin, needing the sacrifice, with God and his Spirit in the Holy of Holies. Jesus covered all of that for us. So the tabernacle, the temple, has beautiful, beautiful symbolism built into every aspect. The Jews had this for thousands of years before Jesus came as a symbol of going up to God and going into heaven. But heaven came down to earth for them in the pillar of cloud, for Jesus here on earth, for the Holy Spirit living inside of us today. So I hope you have fun reading through chapter 31 and journaling out your own prayers and God's reassurance that he goes before you. He has prepared the way. He has paved the way. It has been prepped. It is ready for you. Be strong and courageous.